Oh no, Autumn, I got bad news. Do you want to know the bad news? You sound like you're like, so they have Chopped and Screwed in Houston, like DJ Screw, like, Chopped and Screwed. I'm trying to think of what the word would be for yours when your Wi-Fi does that. It's more like a yeah, okay. All right, we're gonna let Autumn get fixed here. I will let everybody know if you're wondering what's going on. This is the Daily Spiral. This is what happens when Autumn will sometimes spiral at the beginning of the show. She doesn't make you wait till 11:59. It's a great thing. Autumn, are we back?
Can you hear me now?
We're back. We're back.
Yeah, this is when I have to use my computer's lovely microphone. Not the one that I pay for. Not the one that's, I paid for out of pocket.
Yeah, I think I know what's on the show tomorrow. Yeah.
Computer. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I'm dragging a little bit today. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Okay. What's going on?
What's
going on?
I'm just tired, man. I'm like tired. I caught myself falling asleep at work. Because I work in a place where at a certain time of the day it gets really, really cool, and I'm all the way in the back. And the kids, if they're quiet, I'm just like, I can just close my eyes, and I'm like, oh no, you can't close your eyes. Like, I will fall asleep.
Yeah.
I need to not fall asleep.
I get it. No, I get it. I have tomorrow off because I'm going to Columbus, going to visit my little brother, and I promise you, my mom and dad are both going down. I will be sleeping in the back seat. I promise you. Like, there will be no questions asked. Somebody can put on some tunes, or somebody start up a good dialogue and have a conversation, and I will be on Dream Street for at least a few hours.
Look, Friday, I will be until I have to get up and go somewhere.
Okay.
I would be just nothing. But we have a show. We have a show tonight.
Yes.
I wanted to start with an interesting topic. If you are a broadcaster and you had a broadcaster friend and you had a friend with some insider information that's like, hey, this information can make you a ton of money, but you have integrity. You say to yourself, I have integrity. I have a reputation to uphold. I'm going to tell you this, but don't use it for nefarious reasons, right?
Yeah.
Then that friend gets on national television and says, yeah, he's my boy. And we got that inside scoop. So I placed a huge bet and won a shit ton of money and just technically admitted to insider trading. How would you react to that? Because Pat McAfee openly went on his nationally syndicated podcast in front of the entire world and admitted that Shams, the NBA's premier insider, told him where LeBron was going. And he said, Shams is our NBA guy, right? He said that out of his mouth. He said, Shams is really close. He's our NBA guy. So he told him where LeBron was going. And instead of, saying, I'm going to just sit on this information, maybe like scoop it, he tells the world that he placed a huge bet and won a ton of money. I don't know if you guys know this, but that is what we call insider trading, which is illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not great. Not great. I one thing on a side note. I'm just trying to figure out how Shams was able to tell Pat McAfee where LeBron was going when Rich Paul told everybody that nobody knew where LeBron was going up until when he told them. I mean, of course, there's always things that we don't find out till the truth is the fan. But I you had to think, and maybe not you, Autumn, but at least I would tend to think that Pat McAfee, a guy who's sitting on an opportunity to make $60+ million per year, and is going to be in position to be basically, if he's not already, ESPN's top dog. I mean, there's really nobody left now at this point. The only guy you could say that is going to compete with him as a top dog is Stephen A. Smith, and he has his hands in so many other things right now that you really don't know where he's going next. If he's going to be at ESPN or if he's going to be trying to run for office. I don't think it's the greatest idea, but nonetheless, that's where we're at as a country. With all that being said, I would tend to think that Pat McAfee is a little smarter than that. Now, I know.
You give him a ton of credit, man. You really are.
I mean, the thing is, you would think with a guy that's already about to get a boatload of money, has already been through an NFL career where you can't bet, and betting, not as prominent as it is nowadays when he first started his career, but still in the talks and discussions. You would think that you wouldn't release this, and two, do you really need this? I mean, ESPN's basically giving you any type of money you want, anything you want to do, any big special event is Pat McAfee for the most part. And I'm going to be honest, I do enjoy McAfee to a degree, excuse me. I do enjoy some of his coverage on ESPN. I like to listen to his show when he has certain guests on, and they are fun at times. And some of his coverage elsewhere is fun. I think there's also a Pat McAfee saturation or oversaturation where there's too much of him at times. And I think that's where people are burnt out. Even wrestling fans are burnt out on him from the WrestleMania stuff. But Autumn, I just got to believe that this guy is a little smart. I'm not saying he's Harvard. I'm not saying he's 4.0. I'm not saying he's going to cure all the world's problems. But you got to think that he's just maybe a little smarter than this. I mean, I just can't believe a dude would go out there and basically leak his hand. I'm waiting for the FBI to come barging into the Thunderdome, is what he calls it, and have a discussion with Mr. McAfee.
Eli, we have seen how many athletes, both college football, NFL, NBA, across the board over the last, I'm going to say 6 years, 5-6 years since gambling has been legalized, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen plenty of people caught, right? We literally are having one of the biggest gambling scandals in Major League Baseball, where Emmanuel Clase gets caught tipping pitches, right?
Right.
We got the shit show that is this NBA scandal. And I know it seems crazy, right? I know it seems nuts. But some of these people, the gambling is so much to them, and it gives them this rush and it gives them this power that they don't understand that, like, they're putting their careers and their lives in jeopardy. And I too would have said that too. I would have been like, you know what? He has buckets of money. Why would he put his entire life and career online? And then I just had to think about it. I was like, we had NBA players out here making hundreds of millions of dollars and putting their careers online for thousands of dollars.
Right. No, true.
Thousands of dollars.
That's true. But I guess my only thing, and I'm not defending him, and I'm not saying he didn't do this. I want to be very clear by saying that. But I guess, like, just thinking of, like, trying to reason why he should, this whole thing, right, is you would think a guy that went through that stage already, though. I get it, the player situation. Pat McAfee already played a decade or so in the NFL and went through all that already the first time. And he's in his after the fact. And you would think the guy that is getting the keys, this is like getting the keys to, like, your nicest sports car or whatever your dream car is. They give you the dream car. Amazing. You get to drive it around for a week, and then you crash it into a wall. Like, that's what this literally is. Of course, everybody okay in that hypothetical car accident, but that's essentially what this is. You wrecked the dream car, and now you're sitting here, you have your thumb out because now you're hitchhiking for a next ride. And that's a dangerous game, to your point, where he's playing, because he is the guy that a lot of guests, whether they're athletes or they're reporters or whatever on his show, And now it starts to turn into, in the sports world in general, is turning into who can get a hold of gambling sponsorship, betting sports sites sponsorships, who can tip off this. I mean, even during Giannis, the trade deadline discussion, the Kalshi odds, and all that discussion, everybody's getting their hand in the pot. So I think we're starting to enter a weird time in sports where it's like there's more of a blurred line between, I don't even know what the word is, but between report, and I guess less of a blurred line between these reporters and these talk show hosts. Before it used to be a little bit of, hey, I'm not going to give you everything. Nowadays it's, well, I'll give you, and you can go make some money off of it as well, which becomes a bigger discussion. We just spent earlier this year talking about Diana Rossini and talking about her in the discussions with and her whatever alleged relationship with Mike Vrabel and how that was affecting the AJ Brown discussions, which I do believe did. I do. But you look at all that, and now we look at the McAfee stuff, on top of the players doing what they're doing, on top of the Brendan Sorsby stuff, on top of everything else, and it just makes me as a sports fan wonder how much is enough to where casual sports fans start checking out. I don't think the hardcore fans eventually will, it'll take a while, but casuals that are starting to buy into sports are going to start checking out. Because we talk for years and years and decades about WWE and professional wrestling and being like, hey, it's scripted. Why would you? We can't bet on wrestling. It's scripted. Well, hey, here's a spoiler alert. Some wrestling events now you can bet on. But also with that being said, we talk all this time about all that scripted and, and this and that. If we know that these reporters are getting tipped off and, players are going into business for themselves and all this other stuff, and betting sites are basically FanDuel Sports Network, for example, with the Cavs. And hey, Cavs are down by 10, but you know what? They're plus money to come back and win by 5. At what point do casuals and then eventually hardcore sports fans look and go, I think I'm going to find some more time to go fish, or I think I'm going to go find some time to go step out to, with my friends more on a Friday night than go to the baseball game? Because now it's just choosing your best entertainment. There is no more sports and just a proven winner or loser in integrity. It's just now another form of entertainment, which would then make us years from now, Cleveland's source for entertainment, news, and mental health conversations and everything in between. I mean, that's where we're heading.
Honestly, I know it seems out there, but from what I've seen from the last couple years with this gambling stuff, and even ESPN has its own bet site called ESPN Bets. They're now pushing people to bet on so there's a dance league called the IDL, the International Dance League, the IDL.
Yep.
They're betting on the IDL. The IDL is a league that was created for dancers because dancers only had one major competition and they couldn't really sustain their lifestyle.
Right.
So you have a company, think about this. The company itself is getting into bed with betting, right? So you expect everybody underneath to be like, you know what? We're not going to bet. We're going to be angels, right? No, that's not going to happen. Now we have all these networks where DraftKings now has its own network. FanDuel has its own network. ESPN got into betting. Barstool has a betting system. And so when I'm looking at Pat McAfee, I really I've said on the show, I enjoyed Pat's show when he first came on. Mm-hmm. I thought Pat was a great addition to what was happening in the sports landscape because he was a unique voice. He played a unique position and he really gave you a lot of insight and a lot of good stories. And now that he's so far removed, because he's almost 10 years removed from his career, it's different. You have to function different. You have to actually try. And when I watch his show, he doesn't try. He just regurgitates slop for real. And what made me so mad in this situation is I'm like, you're literally admitting to a federal crime on national television, and you're not going to get in trouble because nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah. I don't know if it's even, for me, it's about the talent or the discussion of the show. Because when it comes to shows, I think everybody has some people like Stephen A., some people like Pat McAfee, and that's just kind of the way. And some people like the in-between, the Mina Kimes of the world and the Dan Labatars. And there's something for everybody, I feel like, on that station if they want to choose, or that network. But the problem, I think, Autumn, is more so the integrity of sports. I think, and that's what it's coming down to. We talk all the time about boxing, why people fell out of love with boxing. It's because It felt like fights were being rigged, and you're an 8-10 division champion across, or 8-10 champion, weight class champion, but in 10 different promotions, and the constant, that fight didn't seem like it went that way. Were the cards this way, or why did this go on? And then the Jake Paul stuff and everything else. We talked about this with boxing, and now it's becoming where it's like almost like a body, right? Like if sports was a body and boxing was like the leg or the foot of this body, and it became infected. There's the question of integrity. And it's like, okay, well, we still got baseball, we still got football, we still got basketball, we got hockey, we got all this. We got a healthy body, and now it's infected the entire body. And now we're starting to get to the point where sports and the integrity as a whole, doesn't matter what sports you turn on, is being questioned, because the first thing you find about is what the betting odds are. As soon as somebody announces they want to trade, the first thing that we find out within 5 minutes, if not sooner, is the best odds for him to go where in those next 5 destinations. And you can bet on them. Heck, I put a little 10-cent bets on, in from time to time. Over the weekend, there was LeBron to Philly odds about if LeBron would score 50 points in any game in Philadelphia, or this or that. If he would hold up 10 points per game, every game of the season. I mean, just stuff that makes you wonder, like, okay, yes, betting is fun. I enjoy putting my 10-cent bets in and all that. That's fun. But it makes you wonder 2 things. Where's the integrity of the sports gone? Because now it's like, why would I go here when I can go elsewhere? And 2, now we're starting to play with people's money. And that's a real serious issue, that we're playing with people's money. Sure, Pat McAfee can assume to lose, can rather afford to lose a big bet. If that wouldn't have worked out in his favor, he could afford to lose that, or some of these guys can afford that. Drake puts on a $3 million bet, he can afford that. Conor McGregor, the same thing. But the guy who's working at the steel mill and puts his overtime check on the same thing that Pat McAfee did and it doesn't hit, there's a bigger discussion about that type of stuff. And I think that's where we're starting to play with people's money. And that's where it gets into a dangerous game where sports are going to turn people off as a whole. So,
yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you like this. I have fully taken myself out of sports betting after the Super Bowl 2 years ago, where I lost every single bet that I had and this is starting my ire towards the Kansas City Chiefs. I genuinely hate the team because they lost me. Literally, they lost me. They lost me so much money. But when we get back, that's not okay. First of all, Nate, I'm not playing with your heart. Don't do this to me.
We gotta move on from this.
Yes. When we come back from the break, we'll actually keep talking about the Pat McAfee of it all, because I have another question.
Yeah.
Are athletes bad at broadcasting? Are we in an oversaturation of athletes in broadcasting? Ruminate on that. When we come back, we'll talk about that. Also, just know, you guys, I make terrible decisions. Don't trust me with your money. I bet on the Kansas City Chiefs. It was so bad. I don't even want to talk about it. When we come back, we'll talk more about broadcasting and athletes in broadcasting. And I have a dilemma, and I want to talk to Eli about it. You guys are watching this here on the Inside Edge Network. We'll be right back.
Key On Sports is the leader in Ohio high school athletic coverage in written, print, and video streaming. From the latest news and results and written content to the high school football game of the week every Friday, Key On Sports has you covered. The vision of 15-time published author Vince McKee has become the most trusted site in Ohio high school athletic news. From podcasts to player profiles, Key On Sports is your one stop for all of it. Visit them today at keyonsports.com or on YouTube at Key On Sports. Check out their socials on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Clean energy, bold flavors, and no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Clean energy, no jitters or crash. Whether you're starting your workday or getting ready to exercise, Dubby Energy helps you lock in and focus. With over 15 flavors to choose from, you can't miss. Order Dubby Energy right now by using the QR code on your screen and use the promo code INSIDEEDGE10 to receive 10% off your order. Dubby Energy, your energy-focused sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of body mists made with clean, minimal ingredients. Handcrafted with natural essential oils and clean ingredients, they offer a natural alternative to synthetic fragrances. Perfect for sensitive skin and those seeking clean, mindful self-care, and the perfect gift for you or your special someone. Courtesy of Alley Rose Fragrances. First-time customers Use that promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Whether searching for a baseball autographed by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at SportsMemorabilia.com, the web's leading source of authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and players. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, you'll have the satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the SportsMemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee. Go to SportsMemorabilia.com by using the QR code on your screen right now. SportsMemorabilia.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Podcast Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Find us on InsideEdgeNetwork.com for the latest information on your favorite shows, personalities, and network partners. Plus, guess what? We have a merch shop. That's right, we have network polos, t-shirts, champion jackets, hats, and bottles. Rep the network. Every purchase supports independent sports and entertainment media. Use the QR code on your screen right now to check out InsideEdgeNetwork.com. That's InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Hey guys, awesome show on Unfiltered today. Got into a lot, including that situation involving the North Royalton City employee that was killed. Bond set at $15 million. We got more into the details about the issues that suspect had been experiencing with the city of North Royalton. Still no excuse, and obviously as more details come down, we'll give them to you here on Unfiltered. Also, hey, IKEA's coming to Northeast Ohio. There's a new slide park, a dry slide park at Parma. There's so much going on here in our great region. We talked about all that and more coming up tomorrow, the latest news and notes, and maybe a little bit on the Browns. Training camp opens, and Denzel Ward has a new deal. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things here in Cleveland? We'll talk about that and much more coming up on Unfiltered, all along the Inside Edge Network. I will see you at 5 p.m. right here.
Other thing that's been pissing me off lately is I think we are every action has a reaction, right? For years, professional athletes have been talking about the people we want in the media is people who played the sports. That's who we want. We don't want the typical people, the people who've never played. We want the athletes that are in the media, right?
Right.
Said for years, right?
Right.
Who? Now that we've gotten them in the media, they are some of the worst broadcasters and journalists I've ever witnessed. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They're so terrible because they have no personality. They have no charisma. They're dry. When they do get to the point where, remember when Tony Romo was first hired and then like everybody was like salivating for him because they were like, oh my God, he predicted the game, guys. He's predicting all the stuff.
Autumn, let's be real though, he was kind of predicting the stuff.
He was. But now when you listen to him, phoned it in. Completely phones it in, right?
Well, with the most recent information on Tony Romo, we don't know how.
We know
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
No, but I think that the market is currently for athletes in broadcasting is just way too much, right? Everybody has a podcast. I don't need to know your thoughts. I really don't. Some of you need to keep those thoughts in your head, right? Like I say all the time, we need to take the microphones away from men. Really male athletes for sure. But everybody's podcast we don't need to see. We don't need to see you on a panel. Why are all the YouTube videos of athletes on a panel and they're saying the most crazy stuff? And it's like the NBA guys, okay, it's a little funny when you guys make fun of Rashad McCants because he has some sixth sense of like not normal up in that brain. But it's just the point now where I'm just we are at an oversaturation and these people are making it unbearable to watch sports.
Yeah. I mean, it's all in like finding the right fit, right? In general, like just because you played sports doesn't mean you could talk on sports. And I know it sounds crazy, but we get a lot of times, well, you didn't play, but sometimes some of the guys that haven't played become some of the best coaches, some of the greatest executive minds, some of the greatest broadcasters that get the respect and love from some of these coaches. I was actually seeing some stuff on Ryan Clark, and it's not my place, and I'm not going to step into whatever went down with that ESPN stuff, and we've heard all the reports. But I did see a video, and that this sticks out in this conversation, where him and Peter Schrager, and there was a few other guys on the panel. I believe Teddy Bruschi, and I cannot remember, forgive me, the other broadcaster, or the NFL player turned broadcaster. Peter Schrager was on that set, and he was discussing. It was a very ho-hum discussion. It was about week 1 and CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown, who had a better week. And the Eagles won the game. A.J. Brown had the catch, won the game. I think he was one catch for a touchdown, though, I believe. And, basically put them in position to win the game. CeeDee Lamb had a great game, whatever. They're talking about it, Autumn. And Peter Schrager's making some strong points. And Ryan Clark goes, and this is why, I got to stop you because that's the non-player in you. And I think we've entered a weird time where, yes, players do know more X's and O's than me. I'll be clear, at least me, and I would say a lot of us, but let's hand up me. If you put a wide receiver who's played 15 years in the NFL and me in the same room, they're going to know more routes and things like that, and some things that I wouldn't recognize from the naked eye. But then you get into the world where, I played, so everybody else is wrong, and here's my opinion, and here's why I'm right, and I don't really have to have any basis on it other than I played in the NBA, or I played in the NFL, or I played in for the U.S. men's national team in soccer, or whatever. And that's where it gets dangerous, because I believe there is a need for players that go into broadcasting. Some of them have been great. I mean, look at Greg Olsen, even, the work he's done for Fox and color commentary. You mentioned Tony Romo, and I know he's in some sticky stuff right now, but he has done a pretty excellent job for the most part with the commentary. And I'm curious. I mentioned the only podcast I listen outside of the network is Part of My Take. They actually had him on, I believe, a week or two ago, and he mentioned about how he's trying to basically find his groove again. And I'll support that because I think he's been fun, and we'll see what goes on after all this, but whatever. Then you get the guys, though, and, they go on their podcast and say it's, we're going to keep rocking, and they don't know what they're missing, like Cam Newton, like some of these other, players that unfortunately got the boot, whether it's from ESPN or other places. Paul Pierce got the boot about 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Pierce, because he went on Instagram Live with strippers.
I know, but Autumn, and that's hilarious. It's hilarious. I'm sorry, but even before then, his takes weren't really like X's and O's based or like player analysis. It was very LeBron jaded and kind of his own point of view. And I think it's like, what are we looking for out of this? Are we looking for just X's and O's, or are we looking for another personality? Because I think there can be a question asked for both. I think there's some players that come in that are just X's and O's minds. And those should be guys that are on commentary, like Tom Brady, like Tony Romo, like Greg Olsen. And then you have your personalities, and if they work, they could be a great addition. Ryan Clark was strong on ESPN. I think where things go wrong is two things. Faces outgrow each other. Ryan Clark now at the point where he can do his own podcast, and in the podcasting world, he can be successful at that. And two, I think you start believing you're bigger than the program. And that kind of becomes sometimes, not all, but some players have this I'm bigger than the program mentality. Wherever I go, you got to think some of these guys were the stars of their team. Now, I'm not saying Ryan Clark was the star of his team in Pittsburgh, but these guys were notable names. Guys, I mean, Cam Newton, that's a great example. The star of the Carolina Panthers for a great deal of time. And now he's being asked to be a personality on ESPN and show that. And that doesn't always translate. Gridiron personality to in front of a microphone personality isn't always the same. When you get somebody for 30 seconds to a minute soundbite as opposed to an hour show, that's a big difference. And I think the bigger than me personality doesn't always work if you're trying to insert yourself into something that's already established and then try to belittle the people that have knowledge, that have gone to college or school, done research, and you belittle. So I'm with you. I think we got to find the right people, because there are great players that give great analysis. But what happens is then they go, well, this guy just retired. This guy just retired. You got to have knowledge. Sometimes those guys just need to go fish or go spend some time with their families or go do something else. We craved, and I'll hand it back to you. I'm sorry I'm on a rant, but I'll hand it. Joe Thomas. They craved for Joe Thomas to be a commentary and all that on commentary. And he did a little bit of work, and he does every now and then with the NFL Network. But he spends time with his family and stuff. And if I wanted to hear from anybody out of all these players, he'd be at the top of the list. In my top 5 of guys I'd want to hear knowledge from. That's where I'm at with it. I just think we get into this. Sometimes too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And that's where we're at with all this.
No, you're absolutely correct. I genuinely, when I think about I'm gonna give you the perfect example of where it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inside the NBA is a perfect show where the athlete to commentator pipeline works, right? Because you have Shaq, who's very knowledgeable, but also has charisma and also does the work and puts in the work. You have Charles, who is a ridiculous person, but he also puts in the work and also has personality. Mm-hmm. You have Kenny, and he's the straight man. He's the athlete that, he was on 2 championship teams, but like, he's not as out there as Shaq and Chuck. And then you have the broadcaster and Ernie. And that show works because everybody plays off of each other and everybody does the work, right?
Mm-hmm. When
you have, Cam Newton, every time he opens his mouth, I'm just like, boy, close it. It's just, I think we're just in a market when it comes to this athlete to broadcaster pipeline that is, for real, it is literally about to burst, because it's the same thing sort of with this gambling stuff. It's like people are about to check out. Like, I can't keep hearing like crazy stuff. And look, I'm going to tell you one person. I love Ryan Clark. I liked him when he was playing in the league. I liked him as a broadcaster. He has his faults too. His podcast, the Pivot podcast, I think it's good, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's a little dated at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little dated because this panel of athletes talking about stuff is just at a point where now everybody does it, right?
Right.
Look at Gilbert Arenas. He lost his entire podcast because his panel.
Right. Yeah. You think about all this. Autumn, the other thing that comes to my mind too, because this is a great discussion. The other thing that comes to my mind too is this is kind of unfortunately where we're at, though, because a decade ago or so is really when this player to broadcaster thing became more prominent than it was even decades previously. And it pushed a lot of good broadcasters out. Mm-hmm. The money for all these companies, not just ESPN, but other companies as well, instead of being invested in a 10-year broadcaster that's been busting their ass for the network or whatever, it went, instead into their pocket, it went into the freshly retired guy or the guy that may be finishing out his NFL career and, can spend some Sundays with us or some Saturday, whatever. And it started enforcing that to where I think, it's crazy because obviously we're both in front of a microphone and we're doing great work here on the Inside Edge Network. And we appreciate all of you for tuning in right now with us. But we're kind of at a point where broadcasting we talk about ebbs and flows. I think a lot of people lost interest in being in front of a microphone because it started turning into, well, if you didn't play, then the odds of you getting into one of these prominent roles isn't going to happen. We have, again, some of these guys we just mentioned, Tom Brady, Tony Romo. We already got our color commentary guys. And if you haven't been, a play-by-play guy for the last 15, 20 years, odds are you aren't getting one for another 40 years on some of these networks because these guys are established. The Mike Tiricos of the world, the Joe Bucks of the world. So, okay, if you take away all the color commentary gigs and the play-by-play guys are seasoned veterans that will have it till they decide to either not want it or, they basically call it quits on the microphone. You're just not. There's not many openings. There's not many openings at that point. You're left to studio analysis and things like that, and those are being divvied up to the Cam Newtons of the world, the Ryan Clarks of the world, the Teddy Bruschi's of the world. The list goes on and on, right? I mean, Jason Kelsey spent time on ESPN. I think some of these guys have stuff to add, but I think it's also what made ESPN cool is and these other networks is having that dynamic. Okay, let's bring a player in and have a discussion. If he works well, we can keep bringing him back and maybe bring him on the network. But now it's players have taken over everywhere, and there's no other reasoning. And it's because, again, the player versus non-player, that's always going to be a discussion. Well, I didn't play, or you didn't play, or whatever it is. And I've had those discussions. I've been in broadcasting 11 years, on and off. Of course, so W gave me the call in 2025, to start back up with the Inside Edge Network. But, I remember I was doing a podcast, and I'll leave names out of it. But a lot of times during that podcast was, well, you don't understand. That's from a non-player. You're in the stands. And I think that's kind of crushed a lot of broadcasters' hopes and dreams. I hate saying it, but why should they go to school and put 4 years into a broadcasting degree and things like that, journalism, when they're just being handed over to players? The only lane right now for a lot of people is writing. That's why you see a lot of writing nowadays in these quick pieces and these think pieces, because that's it. That's all you got.
Even then, you have something like the Players Tribune, which I think was a great thing in theory, but now I'm just sick of it because it's like, when I say I'm sick of it, I'm at a point where I'm like, I like the perspective of the athlete. I do, but I'm hearing way too much from you, right?
Yeah.
Athletes are supposed to be mysterious. I'm supposed to look at you on a screen. I'm supposed to be like, I want to look up to you. I shouldn't know as much as when I tell you we know way too much about certain people and way too much about certain athletes, I shouldn't know as much as I do about Tom Brady. I shouldn't know as much as I do about Aaron Rodgers. I definitely shouldn't know as much as I do about Travis Kelce. And I feel like with some of these guys, they're in the points of their careers where they're so focused on what happens after that they're not living in the moment. And when I say the bubble is going to burst, the bubble is going to burst. And all of these athlete-based podcasts are going to start doing what Gil Zarina did. His whole podcast blew up, literally and figuratively, and now he's back at square one.
Right.
You have the Mookie Betts. He has his own podcast. You have Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. They have their own podcast. You have Emmanuel Acho. He has his own podcast.
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green is in the middle of the season giving commentary, talking about Steve Kerr don't want to play me, and you're playing for Steve Kerr.
Micah Parsons on that same note. Micah Parsons.
Okay, but now there is certain athletes that I do like their podcasts. Like, for example, Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague is probably one of the best podcasts out there. His Club 520 is one of the best podcasts out there because he will give you insight into the league, but he's not putting himself and being like, y'all couldn't be me. This is what happened when I was in there. He's just telling you, this is what happens in the league. And he includes his friends and his brother, who was also in the league. And it's just sort of like a playful banter. Like, if all the podcasts were like that and they're not trying to shove stuff down your throat, then I think that would be okay.
Right. And now it's turning into not even players, but now Rich Paul and Max Kellerman, and they're basically that's
ridiculous.
They're basically we talk Love Island on here, but that was like our Love Island for sports fans for about a month, was tuning into the Rich Paul podcast and what does the whiteboard look like this time? And who has he circled? And I mean, we're just entering a weird time where, and we see it all the time. I was actually talking with Papa Moon over the weekend. We had a big weekend, obviously Moon Bash, and Pops and I didn't get a ton to talk. But when I was actually functioning and not running on like zero sleep, but I did talk to him for a moment about how we're in this weird time because, Pops is a little bit older than I. Obviously, that's how that works. That's how he's my dad. He's a little bit older than me, right? So he's in this time where he's entering the creative field, the broadcasting world for the first time. He's 34 episodes in, episode 35 dropping on Saturday here, Inside Edge Network, Saturday, 5 p.m. But, he's entering this time, Autumn, where he'll ask me because he wants to make sure he's right. And he holds himself to a high standard, just like everybody else here across the network. And he goes, hey, Eli, is this right? Like, so-and-so said this report and this or that, or this video and this. And I had to tell him sometimes, it's like, dude, no, that's just like really fabricated. It's AI or fabricated news or it's a quick clickbait. And I've taught him stuff that, I learned in broadcasting school back, in 2015. My dad didn't do that. My dad took a different route. So I had to teach him these things. And it's almost sickening to me that I'm having to be like, Dad, I'm sorry. I appreciate the scoop, but it's not even a scoop because it's not right.
The scoop. Oh my God. You know how many times people send me stuff and I'm like, yo, that's AI. Don't believe everything you say, bruh.
I know and he means so well, and I appreciate him always checking with me. And he told me about a few months ago. He's, you know what I learned from you in AA? I go, what's that? He goes, trust, but verify. Look at it, but and I taught him. I said, if it doesn't have a blue check mark, and I said, even then nowadays you can't even follow that because you can buy it. Thanks Elon Musk for you can just anybody can get verified. But I said if you don't verify, and I gave him some list of reporters for each sport. I'm like, if they aren't coming from these guys. Pops, I don't want to I don't want to hear it respectfully because it's really just extra noise that we shouldn't even be talking about. But that's unfortunately where we're at. Where my own father has to be like, hey, I might have a scoop for the story tonight. Like I saw this in the news and I'm like, I'm sorry, Pops, that ain't it. Because we live in such a weird time in broadcasting from who gets to speak their voice, who's allowed to even aggregate some of this stuff. It's just, we're in a wild, wild west. That's where we're at. We're in the wild, wild west of broadcasting where, you feel like you turn on TikTok and you can go live for 30 minutes and you're now a reporter. You can do one podcast and now you have as much insight as somebody who's been doing this 20 years. You go attend one event and now you know absolutely all the ins and outs of how events work. I think we're just at a time in broadcasting and in totality, I'd say, Autumn, as a world right now, where there's a lot of I know it all rather than I want to learn. And there's a lot of fabrication as opposed to on the ground, ears to the streets, actual source stuff. Now we get that with players, but sometimes it turns into a turnoff because it's like, well, I'm giving you this information, but yeah, you guys wouldn't know that because you didn't play. Just talk to me like I'm a human being. I know I didn't play. I'm 6'1" and I weigh 130 pounds. I'd get hit once by Myles Garrett and it'd be the end of my life. Not the end of my career, the end of my life. It would be over. It'd be over. It'd be done. But but we have this information. I guess is my last point on this is we have information too. We have gone through, everybody here on the network and other talented people across the broadcasting realm have done the work. So I think when the mutual respect is there between players, non-players, broadcasters, and I think when there's a more of an understanding that we have to care about the work and stop allowing all this BS to steep in, that's when we'll change. But right now we're in a weird, wild, wild west.
Yeah. Last point. I'm just at a point now where I'm like, you know what? I'm just kind of like over the athlete to broadcaster thing. Just please, just go away. Go away.
Yes.
Think of it as when a star athlete becomes a coach and you realize that they can't coach. That's what it is. That's literally what's happening. When we come back from the break, Eli, I will share with you my dilemma. It's pretty hard. It's a pretty tough dilemma.
Okay.
But we'll be back in just a few here on the Inside Edge Network.
Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and, well, everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to fanatics.com by using the QR code on your screen right now to celebrate your teams. That's fanatics.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Small business owners are superheroes, but nowadays running your business means doing so inside your shop and on social media. That's why you should make Omega Video Marketing your sidekick.
With a decade of content creation experience, I create dynamic, informative, and fun videos for your specific social needs that will increase brand awareness, get you more followers, and keep your social pages and websites current and fresh.
I offer flexible pricing and turn times and will work with you to understand your brand and your story. All of that comes from the heart. My award-winning expertise is just the cherry on top. So let's get connected. After all, your brand is the alpha and my expertise is the omega.
Discover our collection of handcrafted candles. That's right, every product is thoughtfully created in small batches free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Our candles are hand-poured in coconut soy wax with natural wood wicks, offering a long-lasting burn and rich fragrances. Create a cozy, safe ambiance for your home with candles from Alley Rose Fragrances. First-time customers use the promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Podcast Network. Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Inside Edge Network's very own Ryan Mosser and his wife, Hallie. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northern Ohio but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more at MosserMomentsPhotography.com by using the QR code on your screen right now. MosserMomentsPhotography.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
I don't know if you know this, but I have decided to foray back. I've decided to make my way back into dating, right? Now, I'm not telling any traumatizing dating stories. No, we will not be doing that on this.
Okay.
Okay. Even though something did happen to me the other day that I said, you know what? Only this could happen to me, right?
Yeah.
But my biggest dilemma right now is how do I not be mean to men? I can't not help it. They're so irritating to me. And today there was a guy who I've known for a few years. We rematched on a dating app that starts with a T. And the entire day I've been rage baiting him because it is like I just can't not do it.
I just think you got to find the right one, Autumn. I think I just think you got to find the right one. I mean, and it's hard, but like the weird thing about dating right now is like
it's so terrible.
It's terrible. And I think like what I've learned over the weekend and, just thinking that, it was the last thought on my mind, but, I thought about, and I keep reflecting on Moonbash, but like how happy I was just around people around me, like my bros, my family, my friends. And I think that's like the main thing I could give you advice for tonight. And you could take it or you could tell me to go leap off and that's okay. But as your friend, I would tell you, I think just take time to focus on Autumn. I think, you have things to offer. I know it gets lonely. Autumn, I'm going to be very real with you. I haven't been in a relationship in general, like a solid relationship in, let's see, March of next year will be 4 solid years. I've had a few.
I'm with you, brother, because it's been a while. Look,
but I think just, yeah, but I think like loving yourself. And I mean that just friend to friend, a vulnerable moment. I think loving yourself. The dating apps are fun, and I'm not telling you to stop. Believe me, I'm not telling you to stop. But I think there's something powerful, and you do a lot of fun stuff too. Like you go to you were just in New York, literally like what 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, you're always out and adventuring and things. I give somebody a reason to remember why you're the prize. That's actually somebody, and that goes for any male or female out there, anybody. And I don't mean that, discourage. I know people get mad when you say male or female, whatever. If you're a man or a woman out there or whatever, and you're out there and you're searching for love in a weird time right now. I guess my 28 years, I'll be 29 in 2 days. And at midnight, I'll technically be 29 in a day. But with that being said, I just think loving yourself and remembering you're the prize. That's actually what one of my bros had told me a long time ago when I first got out of my relationship, because I was trying to I was on the dating apps and I was fooling around, and I'd find somebody and he'd always be like, okay, look, there was actually a time and there's still, I share my location with a few of the bros because I was venturing off to, hey, I'm going to Strong's about 11:30 at night on a Friday because look, okay, we're being vulnerable here for a moment. Let's do judgment on Friday. But look, but like going out to like just trying to find something, some connection. I think that's where a lot of people are at with dating. Like, we have the fun, obviously there's the horror stories of it, but I think a lot of it is hurt people. And I think that's what it is. We don't know what everybody's going through. When I first got out of my relationship, I've shared it, I think, here on the network. And if I haven't, my ex was vile to me near the end. I mean, she lied to me about being pregnant. So I literally had a lot of baggage in terms of like trauma I was trying to unpack and then still trying to go talk to other ladies. So I think that's where a lot of men are from a male's perspective. I think a lot of them are guarded because of how they're treated by women. And then, of course, vice versa. A lot of women, I've seen it. I have a sister. I've seen it. Not necessarily with my sister, but I've seen it with women. I can understand that side too, where it's like you're talked down to, you're belittled, you're treated as, oh, how do you look, as opposed to what can we get into. And I think a lot of people don't understand how to have actual conversations after COVID, where it's like, hey, instead of let's go kick it and chill and there's no plan, let's go do something fun. And I think just remembering that's I don't think you intended for me to have this solution or at least advice for your dilemma, but I would say just remember that you have a lot to offer. You're literally the only lady on the Inside Edge network, so you should hold that with some pride and some, so that, and in terms of broadcasting, you are one of the only ladies in radio and broadcasting right here. So that's something. You're definitely somebody we enjoy speaking with. We have a lot of fun, obviously, in the group chat. We all are bouncing ideas off of each other. And I think you are somebody that somebody could actually trust in terms of listening to and having a conversation. Now, what it comes down to is messing through all the mess. And that's why I've kind of stayed away from the dating apps since we've actually discussed about it a few weeks ago. Started bringing trauma back all the way. I'm like, I got to get away from these. But I just think like that, like finding a conversation, Autumn. Like, I'll ask you this. This is my last question for you. And then I know you have some thoughts, and then I'll let you spiral out of control with your good and bad spiral. But I guess my question to you is, how often do you find yourself having a conversation with somebody it doesn't have to be a bar, but a restaurant, or like when you're out with people, how often do you find yourselves having more of a discussion rather than, hi, how are you? Because I've noticed that, and it may be more of a slow burn where you run into somebody that's at your favorite restaurant or your favorite bar or whatever, or wherever it is, and you just slow burn it. Sometimes those are the most beautiful connections, and they may not turn into your loved one in terms of somebody you date or whatever, but sometimes everything works out the way it's intended to. And I think when we start getting on this, we talk about oversaturation with broadcasters, players and broadcaster. When we get on where everybody under the sun can sign up for a dating app, it isn't like you have to check a box and be like, no, I'm not crazy. Okay, I can sign up. Like, you got to think there's literally everybody under the sun. And I think that's what it comes down to, my friend. That's my advice I would share from you, from somebody that, one, is stepped away from dating apps again for right now. I'm going to just enjoy connections. I am out and about already a ton, so I'd like to just see what happens there. And two, I've also learned from, I guess, my parents, like, and people that are a little bit older, where it's like, back in the day, Autumn, like and I say, and Chad will be so pissed when he hears this back, but back in the day in the 80s and like 90s, like, like,
I love like Chad is going to be highly pissed.
He's gonna be highly pissed off. I'll probably get a text in 2 seconds here. But you didn't have like as much social media in these dating apps. You had to go out and meet people. You had to, like, my dad had to call my mom's house and be like, is so and so, is my mom asking for like my mom, giving her name. I won't give her name over the air, but is she available? And having to get the phone handed off to talk with her. I mean, like, that's like, it's just not the same anymore. So I think, I'm searching for whatever's left of a real love or connection in a world where it's so artificial. That's my story.
Look, I'm in a place now where, look, I'm 31, right? 31. All my friends are in serious relationships, are getting married, or getting engaged, or having kids, right? And I took the last, I'm gonna say, about 3.5 to almost 4 years to really say, I had an experience that made me say, you know what, I need to take a step back, right? It's actually been 4 years. It's been almost 4 years now. to where I literally had to take a step back, and I was not on dating apps. I deleted them from my phone. This is the longest I've had dating apps on my phone, literally in probably almost 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But I'm at a point with dating that it's just not fun anymore, right? It like the reason why I took a step back with it is because it's not fun, right? When I say I can't help it, it's just like things like if you say certain things to me, like I'm just like at a point where it's like I can't even play anymore. Like the other day I was watching a video that was like this girl was like dating's not even fun anymore because you know how like men used to love bomb, like they used to love bomb so well that I believed it, right? They can't even do that well anymore, right? I can't even believe the love bombing. I'm like,
Right.
you just like your presence irritates me. So when I'm saying I have a dilemma of like not being mean to men, I don't really necessarily want them to like me at this point, right?
You're right.
I'm at a point now where it's like I just want you to have a common sense conversation, even in public. Even in public, when maybe I'll get approached somewhere. If you come at me with the energy of I'm a creep, I'm not gonna give you the energy of like, oh my god, I really want to talk to you. No, you're giving me the vibe that you're a creep.
Right.
That's mostly the vibes I get from people.
Yeah, and I think it's also too, like, to be honest with you, like I said, I have some very smart people around me that have given me a lot of knowledge in terms of stuff like this. You attract, things that, and I'm not saying you attract this, but what I'm saying is like all your decision, like your like we know this, but lifestyle choices and what we put our time into will attract what is meant for us. And when we steer away from the path, and I do believe sometimes these dating apps, like again, I know they can be fun at times, and sometimes you find somebody that, oh, it was cool, and maybe it turns into something. And I know there's some stories out there where they become, hopeless romantics and they get married and now they're here 10 years later. I get that. But a lot of times it's really a distractor because again, anybody can get on here. Everybody's more so looking for just a quick conversation, trying to meet in person, and we know what happens after that, right? Let's just be real. Like we're adults. We know what the intention of most of these people are on these dating apps. But I think Autumn, like truthfully, focusing on like what you bring, because you bring a lot to the table as your friend. You bring a lot to the table. And I think you should take some time to focus on Autumn. Because clearly you're frustrated with the dating apps. Clearly you're frustrated with the cat calling, and that's sickening. I'm gonna be real, that stuff's sickening. And I'm saying that from a male perspective, that stuff is. And when I see people doing it, I cringe, and I'm like 10 minutes, 10 steps away, and it's like, ooh. But you just put some time into yourself, friend. You know what? Go do your spa day and turn and delete the dating app. And you know what? And just forget, because here's what's gonna happen: is people are gonna look. You have Nate in the comments every night, okay? And maybe it's not Nate. But you have somebody out there that is going to see some value in you, the person, and not just what they can do in terms of discussing, okay, how do I get over to her house? Like, and I'm sorry to be so brutal about it, but that's really what it turns into.
No, that's literally the problem, because outside of the dating apps, I'm like, okay, when I tell you, Eli, when I say this is the most, being on this show is the most I've ever been on a dating app in a very long time, right?
Right.
But sometimes you need to just get a good laugh, right? I am now at the place where, like I said, all my friends, we're all in our 30s. We're all progressing towards that moment of like, hey, we're at a serious point. I'm now at a point where people who I know are married are liking my photos and trying to message me. And that's the other part, is that we now have the married people trying to infiltrate the dating world. And it's like, stay over there. Stay over there. I had to literally make 2 videos over the weekend. One was about, if you're married, please stop liking my photos. The other one was that I had to implement a rule of, if we are talking, if we are having a conversation, and 20 seconds into the conversation, you send me an inappropriate picture, I will block you immediately. I had to delete and block somebody this weekend because we were 5 minutes into the conversation. Said, hey, hello, how's your Saturday? And then 2 seconds later, I open my phone and I should not see a man's appendage.
I mean, it's like I said, I mean, honestly, Autumn, you don't deserve to see that. This is just, unfortunately, how toxic dating has got from 2 people that are single. I would just share the advice. You know what? You should get out into the community more. You should get out to these events, and don't go into it with the intention. I'm
an awkward soul that just is.
I know.
Side of people, and I
know.
cannot go. Like when I say being in public gives me hives, it gives me hives. I have to like time myself on how long I'm in public for.
Yeah.
Like what was it? It was like New York literally was like I was genuinely like, oh my God, this is the most uncomfortable I've ever been. But I had to do it because
Yeah. But like doing the things you love to do will attract what's meant for you is what I'll leave with. I'm gonna let you get into your good and bad spiral here. I know Double A's brewing the coffee up. I see him working very diligently.
we see him working diligently on his crazy coffee, and I've seen the video that he sent us.
Yeah.
Crazy video. This video. So good spiral of the day. Good spiral is anything Spider-Man related. Spider-Man coming out this weekend.
Yeah.
We've gotten a couple spoilers, but it has a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It is the only Spider-Man movie where all 4 movies are in at least a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
This is the animated version, right? This is like the animated, like a run with
the live action one. It's the Tom Holland one.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna spiral.
Bad spiral. The spiral that you don't want to go down, the road that I'm like, please don't do this. Unfortunately, it will have to be Aaron Rodgers and his wife. I don't know who he's fooling. We have not seen this lady. He keeps saying this lady her name is Brittany with an I.
She just doesn't want to be in the public. Didn't you remember?
Do you know how? Look, I've done my fair share of research on women who marry professional athletes. Yeah. You're dating or marrying a man who is at one point the most famous professional athlete in this country, and you just say, I don't want to be in the public. Bull. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers and his fake wife can get out of here. Don't go down that rabbit hole. He's all kind of crazy. Crazy.
I give it to you.
But yeah, that's my bad spiral. Don't even interact with the video of him saying that my wife is the reason why I came back because I wanted to play for Mike McCarthy. Don't give into it. He's lying, people.
But he met his family again over the past weekend. He got the. All right, Autumn. I'm gonna switch to studios. All right, that's all. Yeah, you heard Autumn. You heard Autumn. I'll just shut the fuck up. All right.
Tomorrow. Because you'll be off. So double A.
Yeah.
And I will be on tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock, people, you will not see Eli's face. He will get a much needed day of rest.
Appreciate that.
Rest, people.
I'm trying.
Something, honestly, tomorrow we probably will go back to Love Island because right as we will be on the show, Watch What Happens Live will be airing, and it'll be the first joint interview between the top 2. So we'll talk about that while we're on air. We'll probably talk about a host of other things, a host of crazy things that Double A wants to talk about. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Actually, you know what? Pull Double A up.
I sure will. Absolutely. It gives me a minute to get situated here. You go ahead. Say hi to the guy.
Hi, Double A.
Hi, Autumn. What's up?
I'm tired. I'm dragging. My mic doesn't work, so now I got to get a new mic. My contacts is dry. I got people sending me inappropriate photos 20 seconds in. I got a man telling me, I thought you liked me. If I didn't, telling me I wasn't interested in him. And I said, we literally spent an entire afternoon together. What do you mean I'm not interested in you? How's your day? Double A? How's your day with, that one lady?
She was not there today. So I'll give you a follow-up tomorrow if she showed up. I told you I will not let one bad experience impact my fitness journey.
That's right.
I told you.
That's right.
It will not happen.
Mm-hmm.
But that really bothered me yesterday. I'm not going to hold you. That really bothered me.
So when you were like, yeah, I saw her. And she just was there. I'm like, oh. Yeah. Okay.
Just her presence, because this is, you know what? This is probably where the, you hope you don't run into the dating field in the same gym, same church, same workplace. I get it now. I understand. I get it because, that woman know what she did. That woman knew exactly what she did.
Yeah.
Especially, and here's the thing. Coming off of the weekend I just had, that was a test. I'm like, that was a true test. I'm like,
Well, I'll tell you this. This is my last point. I'll let Autumn say goodbye to the audience, and we'll get into, of course, Midnight Run.
No, I have one final question for Autumn after you
Perfect.
go.
Okay, that'll be very quick. All I'll say is really what completely stopped me from all the dating apps and everything is I was like, all right, I obviously had like a little situationship for a week or two after, not right after, but after, I got out of my relationship, I was like, all right, test the field again. You know what? Go back to the drawing board. This is the girl I talked to before in the past. We haven't talked in a while. It's okay. So, we linked up, we had a good time, whatever. And then it didn't work out after, whatever. But I'm like, we ended cordially. So I'm going to reach out to her on Facebook. I sent her the friend request because we had deleted each other. She accepts it in like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, I'm in there. I am in there like swimwear. Now, when I mean that, folks, I don't mean I'm just going to go out and ask her to boom room it. I'm going to ask her to, let's go have a conversation. Like we just talked, Autumn and I, we talked about having dialogue, conversation, finding out what they like. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And I reach out, we're checking out how she's been. She's like, oh, good. How are you? We're discussing. I go, what's been new? She goes, oh, we just got the house, and so I got everything I want. The man, the dog, the house. And, yeah, she said the man. So she's a little bit further. Autumn, we were just talking about, we're getting into our 30s. I'll be 29 here in about a day. That was the end. That was when I locked in. I said, I got to lock in on me, man. I got to lock in on me. Like that's where I'm at. Double A, back to you.
So, Autumn, question for you. Who do you think had a worse day? Guardians fans watching Gavin Williams handle business with record strikeouts, and what he did today in game 2 of the doubleheader, and then our offense looking like they have seemingly my entire life, consistently trash.
I'm like, okay.
Or the person who went to Popeyes and allegedly found a fried condom in his chicken.
Oh my!
I think because if I found a fried condom in my chicken, it would be that person. The Guardians their offense has struggled mightily for a very long time. But if I went to Popeye's Chicken and I had my mouth set on some chicken, I had my mouth set on a nice 3-piece with a biscuit and a side of mashed potatoes.
Okay, Autumn, chill. I'm getting hungry. Okay.
If I bit into my chicken thigh, my chicken breast, my wing, whatever, and I pull something out and it's a fried condom, I will own that Popeyes by the end of the week.
Yeah, I believe her. I believe her too.
Now,
that Popeyes will be under my jurisdiction.
Now, I know typically when people watch this show, people think I make up stories sometimes. This is not a made-up story.
No.
We got video we're going to play for you. We have reaction from a Houston Popeyes. A victim allegedly found a condom fried in his chicken from Popeyes.
Why did you say it so serious? A victim. A victim.
This is breaking news.
Is that what piece was it? Was it a thigh? Was it a breast? Was it a wing? Was it a jaw?
We have video to answer that question coming up next.
I will see you guys tomorrow.